Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Case, which is a podcast where global leaders from Harvard Business School's OPM community join in a personal capacity and they share the real lessons, life principles, mental models that go behind building enduring companies. Today's guest is a co-participant from OPM 67, my batchmate, someone I admire a lot. His name is Rishikkes Pawar. Very, very humble and down-to-earth guy despite everything that he's achieved in life. And fellow resident from New York City. Rishikesh, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Same. It's my pleasure to be with you on this podcast. And I mean, I was smiling when I rarely hear someone saying that someone admires me a lot, but I think we are friends and we are on the same page, same boat, and the same level. But I'm happy to be here and super excited, looking forward for this conversation.
Thank you. Rishi, how do you introduce yourself and the work you do?
I think I belong to this planet. So I'm a resident of this planet. I run a marketing company. So I'm founder CEO of DigitalZone. We are a B2B marketing company. But for me, it's all about human rather than explaining ourselves with the lines of traditional boundaries which we have set. And that just opens up a lot of opportunities and possibilities. So I'm obviously traditional way. My name is Rishi Pawar, born and raised in India from Pune. I live in New York City, run a B2B company, and got married 2 years ago. Just had a daughter 4 months ago. So it's kind of every day is a new experience now.
Congratulations on being a father. I'm sure the
Thank you.
restless
Thank you.
nights, you must be working around the clock. Also, your wife must be carrying on with this journey. So, congratulations to the family.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean 99% is all about mothers, right? We we play a little role, but that's also important.
Rishi, your profile has a very disciplined picture to it. From what I understand, you're into meditation, weightlifting, yoga, you like reading, racing cars, and most recently you've attempted learning how to fly a plane as well. And now you're a new father. So amongst all of these activities and these different sides to your personality, which role do you think has influenced you the most as a founder and as a human being? Because you started off by introducing yourself as a resident of the planet as opposed to the title of your company.
Yeah, I mean, if you see a common theme between all the things, let's say what you mentioned about me or all the things we do, it's about learning and being curious. Right? And whether it's discipline, whether it's consistency, these all things are key ingredients towards, our goal if you want to achieve them. And whether it's you, me, or anyone who has achieved a little bit or maybe have achieved their goals in life, I think in some capacity, maybe in different ways, we all try to do the same things, whether in form of physical, mental, it all combines together. So I do like few things in terms of like, let's say, meditation, workout. I do like reading or maybe consuming content through different channels, mostly videos, but I read books as well. But deep down, if you look who we are as humans, right? I do feel that, there is humans basically are the people who always try to innovate and there is always hunger to do better. So learn new things, do better in what we are doing. And that's what I do. I try to, make sure I take on new things that challenges me and keeps me excited because if you try to do the same thing for years, it becomes boring at some point, and that's a natural human thing to happen. So it's always better to take on new thing, fail, most importantly, even if it doesn't have to be successful all the time, but it keeps me awake. It helps me to wake up with some sort of excitement every day.
Great. And you touched on failure, which is so critical to the theme of this convo, and we'll come to that in a bit as well. Uh, More importantly, being a father, do you think that has changed how you think about ambition, legacy, and your time?
I mean, I keep thinking on it, and a couple of my friends have also asked me about it in last 4 months. I honestly, it's like it's still very new and fresh. There are so many things going on, and especially like you and me when we are away from family, and not in a luxury of having multiple people working at home and people are there to help. So, you and your wife are doing almost everything, right? Running businesses, managing family, doing groceries, cooking, also taking care of the baby. But at some point, obviously, we all change, especially after becoming parents. And it just for me, I mean, a lot of my friends tell me that you need to learn to smile and laugh more and become less serious. And I think I see that happening with my daughter when I spend time after hours, after work hours, especially. You just become a kid with them. And I think that's the true life. So I have changed for sure, but I think it will take some time to sink into it and truly understand what has changed because 4 months is still a very short time. And as many of my friends who stay in the same building tell me, it's like, it's a lifelong project. So maybe every month, every year, you learn and change.
Right. So take us back to before starting your company, Digital Zone. Uh, what kind of a person were you before entrepreneurship, and what pushed you towards building something of your own?
That's a very good question. I think so. I'm always a person who will take the first step in any given situation. It's whether it's a fun thing or a challenging thing. And I'm a generous person by nature. So even in back in my school days, I remember I was never afraid of trying something new, whether it's on the mischievous side or whether it's on a good side as a student. And then many of my friends followed. So in general, people would not take that first step because it is filled with uncertainty. So I was always that kid because I don't think about what other people think about me or what they will have an opinion about the thing I do, and that has helped me to become a person or where I am today. And then taking people together. I remember in my school there was nearby a school there was this person who used to sell what we call as gola, right, the ice thing. And whenever I used to go to eat after my school, I used to take three, four, five of my friends. I never used to go alone. And whether I had money or not, I used to uh, you know, tell him that I'll pay you later, even if I had no money that day, but my friends were there. So taking people along, sharing the experience, I would say sharing success is always been my thing. And that has helped me to build the business, what I have today. Because end of the day, business is all about people, whether it's on the client side or within the internal organization. And I do take some non-traditional approaches all the time, and that helps me to just learn new things. And my parents, especially my dad, always believed in me and never restricted me to do certain things or maybe in things in a certain way, right? And that helped me a lot because end of the day, you are being not given that freedom to explore, to try new things, then your curious part, your curious part in your brain somewhat loses that capacity. That's what I feel. That led to I was never super interested in memorizing books and giving the exams. I do call it a memory test versus learning, right? Because end of the day, exams are structured in a way where you have to remember the things which are written in the book, and then how much you remember, you have been given marks on that thing, right? It's a memory test versus curiosity test or a problem solving test. And then after my school, I never did college full time. I was more curious to see the real life, but I did study up to my second year, and then third year of my graduation when I was supposed to give my final exams, I took my friend and went to Simla Kulu Manali, which is a hill station in India, and never gave the exam, but never told my parents as well. Figured out the things, what to tell them, and that's how I'm a college dropout. I remember in our class in October in Unit 1, While I was answering to one question or maybe sharing my thought, I told that I'm a college dropout, and that's the reason. After the class, I think one of our friend came to me and said, "Hey, I really liked you said that because I'm a college dropout because I was hesitating to say that loud or not." I think, just being yourself and trying to be who you are helped me a lot. And that led to a lot of things in business, leading people, solving problems, understanding the real problems, listening, that's what has helped me.
And then you went to Simla, Kulu Manali with your friend. Were you concerned at any point about the future prospects? How did you go about convincing yourself that there is a path ahead which you will land on and identify? How did you end up becoming a founder?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm lucky enough from my school days. I got an opportunity because of my grandfather to be with people who are 10, 20, 30 years older than me all the time. So I spent less time with my friends versus more time with people who have really lived real life. And I think that shaped my opinion about traditional way of doing things or becoming successful in life. So I never believed that education, I mean, traditional education, reading books and giving exams is the only way. Yes, it's a great way. Many people have been successful, and that's what we are doing now in HPS as well. But that's not the only way, right? I've been always a big believer that there are millions of ways we can figure out life, and we know maybe 1% of that even today, right? The entire world. It never concerned me. For me, it was like I do things what I like, and that matters me the most because that makes me happy. And when I'm happy, I get great ideas. I get great thoughts. And if you see the things I've done, whether in business or personal life, all those ideas and thoughts came when I was happy, whether I was, in the gym working out, maybe I was dancing in my living room, playing nice music or the songs I like. And that's very important because you cannot function or solve problems or lead when you're not happy. And happiness comes from doing the things you like to do.
Very well said. To touch on the part of your grandfather exposing you to a crowd which was a lot more mature than your core circle of friends and family, could you stress a little more on what impact that created on you in terms of your mindset, your aspirations, your ability to challenge yourself, maybe?
Yeah, I think the most important thing I remember, when I was sitting, I used to sit in that group. And one thing that helped me a lot is just to listen more because when you are sitting with all the adults, right, you cannot talk a lot because they'll not listen first thing. So naturally you have to listen to what they are saying. But what I realized is, you know, all the concepts we have in mind about people um, and their image, whether it's through uh, financial layer or maybe an professional layer. When you go close and listen, everyone is very similar. And if you open and unwrap each layer, most of the things are very simple and basics, whether it's a human level or a technology or business. So I think what I understood is life or maybe doing things in life or becoming successful or even maybe learning a new concept, understanding a new industry is not that difficult as we all think, right? It's just that you have to break things in a very simple way. Try to like Professor Das told us, in order to improve the process, you have to break the process in so, I would say many different parts in the smallest size you can, and then realign. So that's how I look at it. That's what I learned actually, that I don't know why, but then we have been taught that everything is difficult, things are very complex, but the reality is it's not complex. It's been shown that way, but you unwrap the layer and go deep down and check the reality. The basic things are very simple. It's just that we try to be at the top 5 feet or top layer, and when you dig deep, things become very simple.
Do you ever find yourself questioning um, your purpose or anything you're working on, especially in the early days of being an entrepreneur? When you don't have a lot of validation, you're building for the future, revenue is still some time out, customers have not yet shown a willingness for the product, right? So in those moments, did you ever find yourself questioning what you were working on? And if yes, how did you keep your mindset stable so as to continue moving forward?
I think it's a great question. And the answer is yes, because um, early in your life, whether it's business, maybe job, school, college, because you have not experienced that enough, or maybe it's very early, there are always doubts. Whether is this the right thing you're doing? Can you do it? Do you belong to this world? All the type of things, right? And most of us go through challenges, a lot of challenges actually, in the early stage of our things, right? So that's where the doubt and questions on our purpose, goals, and everything come on. I mean, I remember my first 5 years building Digital Zone. I have a different story, but I came to in this I came in this business accidentally with 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 and hunger to always build a business, try to solve problems, and provide more opportunities to people in form of jobs, learning, and everything. But then it turned out to be a complete different thing. So I had to figure out things, almost everything on my own. And first 4 to 5 years were challenges all the time. Every day there were new challenges. So yes, I had questions on my ability and whether I'll be able to make it or not. But then I had this belief and confidence on myself, right? It's not about the industry you are in. It's not about the business you're doing. It's about taking one problem at a time, right? And trying to solve that by breaking it down in many different simple ways rather than looking at it as a one whole thing. For example, so we even today we are a bootstrap company. I don't have any investors, whether it's a VCP firm, individual investors, right? And to be where we are, plus not take money from, let's say, your parents or you know not have enough funding, you have to manage cash. And cash flow is a big thing in any founders or entrepreneurs journey. I've been maybe, thousands of times where I have to borrow money to make a payroll, right? Simple thing. Not many people talk about it. But then when it becomes for 3, 4, 5 years, because you're still figuring out things and there are so many uncertainties in business, you come to a point like you just think of giving up but then every time you find out a new way to manage those funds, as simple as that, you go through your contact list in your phone, see who your friends are, who will help, and all that stuff. So taking one thing at a time, um, and I think that the habits or maybe hobbies I have helped a lot, whether it is meditation and workout and reading and being with, like I told, I spent a lot of time with seniors or adults in my school days, college days, because of my grandfather. That helped a lot because when I used to hear stories about their journey and challenges, that's again a validation that this is not uncommon to you. It's not only to you, it's common to everyone, right? And there are ways to figure out. So you find out ways, and that's like you said, it's just that I mean, I still read a lot about consciousness and how and where the ideas come from and how you solve problems. Suddenly you're taking a walk and you get an idea and that's a solution to a problem. That's a bigger, larger discussion. But yes, there were thousands of times I doubted myself, but belief and confidence that you can go through it. But at the same time, you have to be honest to yourself, to the team, to the people you're working with, and you have to be transparent enough at times. You cannot just put a makeup and shield and try to show things which does not exist. And that helps a lot. And when you're doing it honestly, you figure out things, and there are always solutions waiting for you.
Thank you. Was there a failure or a setback or a painful lesson that fundamentally changed the way you lead today?
Yeah, many. I mean, I say this to my team that failure is common. and success is rare. So the things which are common should happen many times or a lot to you, almost daily, right? So yeah, I mean, I can give many examples about failures, whether it's failures on day-to-day basis or failures on, on a larger scale. Um, I started this company called Sweven Infotech couple of years before, in I think 21, 22, right? Uh, when actually things at Digital Zone were going good, and obviously when you are first time founder, young, you don't have enough experience about whether to about focus and how can you manage multiple businesses. And that started by when I got an email from a person who was actually trying to figure out his new job. And then I thought, yeah, it's a good idea. It's a new industry, and maybe I can invest some of my funds from Digital Zone and try to, diversify revenue stream and all that stuff. But over time, I realized I gave 2, 3 years. I didn't give full time, of course, but then I gave my time, investment, and tried to put together a team and see if it works. And tried it for 2, 3 years, right? And it didn't work out. And then at some point, like 2 years ago, I had to kill it. So I think that was a great lesson for me because I do consider that was a failure, and I'm proud of it actually, versus I would say ashamed of it, right? Because I learned a lot. First thing I learned is you cannot run or you cannot be successful in all the things you do, even if you are super successful in one thing, right? And then there should always be a question of why. Even if you think that let's start a new business, why? Is it about money? How much money, right? If it's an amount, then how can you earn the same amount in your existing business, right? It's a lot easier to do. Or maybe why you're doing it. Are you doing it maybe just because you have a lot of money and you have to spend it, or you have a lot of time which you don't know how to invest? So I think, getting understanding the right framework and structure. And then, by that time, I understood that it's important to say no to most of the things because you'll get proposals on the way, especially when you're doing good. The world knows, many people know. So, there are a lot of ideas. Ideas are cheap nowadays, execution is harder. And you should not, just follow the path. And I think that failure taught me a lot. But I do, respect everyone's efforts in that journey because everyone on that team gave their honest efforts, tried hard, but end of the day, it didn't work out. And at some point, when you start a new business, maybe what Amazon taught us is whenever you open up a new venture, it's important to decide when you're going to kill it, the timeline. And most of us, like, don't think about it because we are super optimistic as founders and we think everything is going to be successful and we don't think of stopping it. I had that thing in my mind when I started that it's going to be 3 years max. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we should all be proud that we tried but didn't work and just stop it and move forward. And I think there are a lot of things I learned on the way, but I do appreciate because I feel that it was super important for me to go through that experience in early stage, right? And that helped me even in my current business, whether it's about launching a new product, coming up with a new team. There we have actually said no to many things after that within our current business, and that has helped us to stay focused, aligned, and always look at what's our goal and what's our North Star.
Very well said. Rishi, what on your journey then inspired you to consider the OPM program at Harvard?
So, like I said, I'm college dropout. So I learn my things through experience and execution, right? I think that's that's one of my strength that you become over time good at execution and you have a lot of experience. But I wanted the structured way in my life. So what Harvard helped me, right? This is my second program I did with Harvard. I'm doing it with Harvard Business School. Is all the ambition I have and all the optimism and energy I have. I think Harvard helped me to shape it in the right framework, right? And then a more organized and a structured way, because I think having a right mix of execution and organization in doing things help you a lot. And honestly, the most important thing I learned at HBS is, there are so many things I don't know. We all, think about the things we know, but it's important to also realize and understand that we only know maybe 1% or less, and there are so many things we don't know. And with people, our friends from different countries, different culture, different backgrounds, it's important to learn and see how people think coming from different background and experience. But the baseline is we all have similar problems. That's a good part of it, right? We End of the day, we are humans, no matter we come from a developed world or developing world or underdeveloped world, which color on the skin we have, what background language we speak, but our problems are very similar, and that's what connects us. Harvard Business School and the program, especially OPM, has taught me this thing, and that just opens up immense possibility. The realization of that I don't know a lot helps us or help me to open my mind to many things and become more curious.
I'm sure it's not been easy going from being the founder, CEO, the boss man to relearning. It might be quite a humbling experience to be amongst so many fellow founders as well and business owners. What's been some of your biggest takeaways from the first unit at OPM?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at what what did I learn, rather than going through cases, I try to see which concepts were super interesting to me, right? Whether, the negotiation exercise we did twice, I believe, right? Going into negotiation, how important it is to, set a target, have an option B, have your own BATNA, right? ZOPA. And the super interesting thing, which I never thought of, right? If you're going for, your life is all about negotiation, whether you're negotiating a salary, negotiating a position, deal, or negotiating with your wife or spouse, right? It's important that how timing is important. So the interesting thing was how people have their favorite times in a day, whether it's super early morning or late night. There were people we got to know that they only go to a meeting when it comes to negotiation late night or early mornings or before 6 a.m. And that was super interesting because we all lose sight about what importance mornings, afternoons, and evenings have in our life. And then likewise, like, there are many concepts like most of our favorite concept was making our customer a hero, and that is one of my priority for 2026 as a company this year. And we have made an incredible progress in last 4 months, right? And so different things. What I learned from, let's say, Friendly Fire, I think it was about you know no-fly zone, right? So how do you create a no-fly zone between departments or people where people know that where to stop and where are the boundaries in order to avoid a collision, right? Or even I think even Professor Das, when you're hiring people or hiring a team, hire for future and don't hire people like you because you already have what you have. You need to get more skills, new skills, or new mindsets in the team. So um, different concepts like, quality of market share versus actual market share, for example, right? It's important we all go beyond, we all always go behind, how much market share I have and how much I need to get. But it's important to also look at the quality of market share. So I think these things, whether it's regarding hiring, negotiation, go to market, finance, and in general in life, I mean, the last session by Professor Raman, Take a Shot, was so profound and deep. Even we all were tired after our party day before, but we were super engaged and everyone, I think that was a perfect end to unit one. And I truly enjoyed about taking a shot in different forms and different ways. So um, I mean, these were my key takeaways. There are many concepts, frameworks, and lessons I have already implemented in my business right away. Few of them are actually our top priorities for the year, and I'm seeing the effect of it. So, like I said, I mean, ambition, full of energy, and execution mixed well with organized way and structured way of doing things and thinking in a framework style. is key, and that has helped me a lot in from Unit 1.
You've developed a deep interest in defense tech and geopolitics as well, which is not a typical path for the founders that we come across. And so, what led to this fascination, and why do you think it matters so much to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all are passionate about few things in life, and defense, space, and geopolitics um, fascinates me because I think it's tough. It's it takes time to understand the true nature how the industry functions. But I think that's also the future, right? Because end of the day, as founders or CEOs, in some way we are also trying to um, make an impact, whether it's on our team, on our industry, within our friend circle, or trying to, prove things. And the reason why we like to be CEOs and founders is also the control, right? We like to have a control in our hands. And I think if you look at these things, whether it's space, energy, defense, or geopolitics, that's that gives, I mean, that's an opportunity where you can actually make an larger impact. And I think defense is very interesting because technological progress we have made in last couple of decades, things have become very fascinating. And like we learned in our cases, like the globalization case, the future war are most likely going to be technical wars versus the actual military wars, right? And if you mix hardware with software, even in defense, things have become smaller and smaller in terms of equipments, but the impact is larger. So you compare a traditional missile to a drone today. We are all seeing what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, and then recent the US and Iran, and how the smaller equipments are having a larger impact, and how technology is playing a key role. Space is interesting. Till today or maybe recent years, we all saw space as just an curious thing to see what's beyond Earth, and how many stars and how many galaxies, and how what is universe. But if you look at if you relate to business, what's happening because of Elon Musk, all the AI revolution, space is going to be the next real estate, right? Because now we are all seeing and hearing that most likely the data centers will go in space. And then when you have one thing which is going to power logistics on this planet, then maybe data centers can go up to, it can become many different things. So you'll be surprised to see the things what we have today on land in coming decades. You'll see the things in the space in and around Earth, whether it's data centers, manufacturing units, and you might see even offices in space, which are close by Earth. I think I was also, so I'm reading this book, Who Built the Moon, right? And recent um, mission by NASA, which landed, which sent the astronaut around the moon, right? And they're exploring that if we have a manufacturing unit on moon in future, maybe with the gravity, you can actually push things from the moon and they'll drop on Earth. And you know how you can achieve scale, how less expensive it will be to manufacture things in moon and send it to Earth. So there are a lot of interesting things going to happen in future in space. It's not going to be only about stars, galaxies, asteroids. And I think geopolitics is an important thing. That's how that actually dictates, our life in many ways, whether it's policies, rules, and all the, financial things that happen in and around us. And my interest is because it has a larger scale. So after Digital Zone, my goal is to, have an exit, sell the business in next 3, 5 years. I'm very open about it. My team knows it. My friends know about it. Maybe I'll take a break for like a year or two, not to enjoy, but then maybe take a fellowship in one of the well-known labs, not very well known, but then well known to the community, and do a fellowship around these topics, right? To go deep on defense, space, or maybe the financial world, which is related to. So I do follow Peter Thiel, and the book he wrote, Zero to One, which talks about creating monopolies versus creating products, right, as a business. And in order to create a long-lasting, impactful business, what we see, let's say the top five or top tens of the world, you need to spend time learning and going deep. You can come up with a new business idea and make it work, and you can reach a couple of millions in revenue. But in order to achieve the billions and trillions, you also need to take a break, go back to the drawing room, learn, go back to school again, and go deep. And I think going deep is also rare. A lot of us try to, or maybe in general, people try to learn things at the top layer. But if you look at the people we follow today, whether it's Elon, Jeff Bezos, or what's happening with OpenAI, Claude, Perplexity. Perplexity is a great example. Um, you know, I think he took a break for 4 5 years after before he started Perplexity, and taking a break in the sense you need to dedicate time to learn, go deep understanding technologies and frameworks and how things function. It's not easy to take on Google and start Perplexity, but then everything is possible. It's just that you need to have the depth.
Very well said. Uh, in closing, if you could sit down with the version of yourself that's launching Digital Zone in 2014, before the growth, before HPS, before becoming a parent, what advice would you give him?
Wow. I mean, in my 20s, I was always seeking for validation, and obviously doing things from financial motivation and all the things what we all do. But today, obviously, based on some life experience, we think differently. I would tell myself is I would maybe two things. Um, stop seeking certainty. I think before even you take an action, there is no thing such as certainty in life. Everything is so fluid and uncertain, and we think a lot. So I would definitely say go away from thinking and seeking uncertainty before even you take first step or an action. And the second thing, I think um, we all, I mean, I specifically used to think a lot about clarity, but I do believe that clarity comes from doing things, or clarity comes from movement, not overthinking, right? So I would say that just start doing the things. You'll figure out things. There will be clarity on the way, and that's how life evolves. If you look at ourselves, I mean, our first couple of months on this planet versus today, there has been a lot of things, have changed, evolved, which we never dreamt of. So just start doing things, take that first step, take that shot, like Professor Raman said, and you'll get clarity. You'll figure out many meanings on this way.
Great. Thanks, Rishi. Very, very insightful conversation. I think you've been very transparent and forthcoming. So much appreciate this on a working weekday.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
a
I
lot.
hope it was not boring, and I appreciate you taking time and even inviting me to have this conversation. And I would like to mention, and I don't know if you're going to have this on the recorded version, but you know, you took this shot of starting the series and gave opportunity to me and many of our friends to come on this place, because honestly, we all like to talk and get our thoughts across. But this is my first podcast. Many people reach out, like in general, to talk about things, but then I do think I'm still learning. I don't know many things, so I don't want to go and start giving advices. I'm just 33. I do want to live 90 years minimum, so there is enough time for me to give advice later in my life. But I think it's about connection, and I would like to thank you specifically, because this is a platform you gave to all of us to express ourselves, get to know each other, and whenever I'm free, I do listen to our your episodes, especially from our friends. And it's funny, it's interesting, it's learning, and you took that shot. So, on behalf of the entire OPM 67, I would take this moment and say thank you to you. And I hope you get to learn a lot, and obviously you have fun. That goes to you, your business, your family, and to all of us.
Thank you, Rishi. That's very kind of you, very thoughtful. I appreciate that.
All right.
Be well.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.